Welcome to Robert Craig's 8th in a series of virtual tastings. Hosted by Elton Slone. With special guest, Director of Hospitality, Jami Castro. This tasting features diamonds are nearly forever, with 3 vintages of our Diamond Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon, the 2017, 2015, and 2013. We hope you enjoy the tasting. If you'd like to taste alongside Elton, these wines are available on our website. Also check video details below for links to future live virtual tastings.
Welcome everybody, welcome. Coming to you from the top of Howell Mountain, or at least I'm in Healdsburg. Let me see here, all right. All right, Amy Dahl. Hey, Andy Nichols. Great that the Nichols are with us. Bonnie Bailey. Hello to you and the crew. Brandy Craig. All right. Brian Bagenstone, welcome aboard. Brian McCarthy, Chuck Bloom, Danny and Debbie McQuarrie, welcome back. So great to see you guys. One of many. Dave and Carol Leahy, thank you for everything. I haven't even responded to your last email. You guys are beyond the beyonds. Deborah Weir, solid. Keeping Kim in line. Douglas Dickler, good to see the Dicklers on board. Gary and Linda Ayers, long time Major League Craigers. Great to see you. JT Meyer. Jeff and Brooke Vale, of course, the Craig Core Nation. Jennifer and Craig Baldino, great to see you on. Jim Baum, Jim Ditter, Joan Brown, John Moore. Jonathan Kuhn, welcome back again. Kat Fleming and Rod, the Lost Dogs of Indianapolis, Indiana, great to see you guys. Leroy, Laura Lynn Kane, gosh, so many people. Paul Pettit, Matt Kupel, and Philip Coos on board today. Rob Ludwig, great to see you. Robert Brown, Scott Castro, Tim Tomlinson, Tom McCullough. Hey, Victor Andrade, keeping the Miami crew strong. So great to see everybody. You can see, I'm doing a green screen. You can see Shelley sort of flitting around behind you because I'm at the Hotel Healdsburg for a weekend getaway. I have a friend's 60th birthday, and I mean, I can't believe it. None of us look like we're that old. I can guarantee you that. But it is, if none of you have been to the Hotel Healdsburg, what a property this is. Just wonderful. So I feel like I'm doing a busman's holiday to figure out how Sonoma's doing it, but the hospitality here is wonderful, and it is October whatever today, midway through the month of October, and it is 99 degrees out here at Hotel Healdsburg. So in Sausalito where I live, it's 81, but I just want to say to everybody, well, let's say hi to Shelley here. Come on in. This is my beautiful lady. I have to confess, she's already had a couple of pool drinks today. So, you know, Shelley, keep the sentences short.
Hello, everyone. Yes, so pool time soon. So
That's
anyway.
right. That's right.
Hi, Jami.
Hi, Shelley. Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you.
Well, today we're kind of on the backside of Diamond Mountain. Bye, darling.
Bye.
Tell me how it is out there. Just I have a feeling that my tab is going to go up like to infinity. One of the things that you deal with at COVID is now you get to the pool and everybody has to get out at, they close the pool at 11:03 or whatever and have to do a half-hour cleaning. Yes, 7. So it's official. COVID is breaking down the pool party. It's driving us all insane. So let me just say to everybody, thank you so much for coming on and seeing us here at Robert Craig again. I think this is one of certainly the best values in any wine tasting we've ever offered. And, you know, Jami and I were speaking about it and said, what do you want to do? And I thought, you know, let's feature Peter Thompson's fabulous Andrew Jeffrey Vineyard and do a little vertical of that to sort of kick off the fall season. And Shelly's taking her wares back out to the pool to kick off the fall season. And, you know, I thought it'd be great. We'll have Peter on. Well, Peter, like the rest of us, has a bunch of insurance adjusters in his vineyard. And I mean, the glass fire has been horrific on the summit of Howell Mountain, all the way over to Sonoma. I thought, God, you know, we got Veeder burned out in 17, and, you know, at least we're on the summit of Howell Mountain. They'll never let that burn because there's so much high-priced stuff down below us, like Calistoga Ranch and Meadowwood, and all of those burned up as well. So, oh my goodness, we've taken a financial hit like I can't even tell you about. It looks to be somewhere around $500,000 in vineyard damage, and then no Spring Mountain, no Mount Veeder, no Diamond Mountain this year, and so it's been, and of course we've paid the money to farm it all year. So if you're ever going to lose your grapes, the worst time possible is right now in terms of being a winery financially. So that's why, you know, from all of us at Robert Craig, all 8 of us hardy souls, we so appreciate everybody coming in. But with all of the smoke and flames, I'll show you a few shots. In COVID, it's time to take a break and just enjoy some wine. And what better way to do it than with 3 of the best damn wines ever. So ordinarily, I would taste from, and I know if Dennis Kelly, the master somm that we had on a few back, he would be appalled. But I like to generally taste the older wines first and then move to the younger wines, because sometimes you can lose a little nuance. And Dennis has been one that always likes to taste from young to old. So I'm going with Dennis Kelly because Diamond Mountain, to me, we've made there have been some major changes in the wines over the years. So why don't everybody, we're going to start with the 17 and then go 15 and 13. So sorry, I've got a green screen because my hotel room, it's beautiful, but not very interesting. So start yourselves out with a little 17 Diamond Mountain. And I'm going to hold up this beautiful DM cork. And you notice it at Robert Craig, the 17s have 17 Diamond, 17 Spring, 17 Affinity, not so much Howell Mountain, have quite a bit of tartrate. And it's because I am averse to cold stabilizing the wines very heavily, which we're going to do more of because I got more tartrate crystallization than I would like. But there's a great article from Decanter that I'll send everybody that talks about that is a sign of quality, even though it can be annoying in your glass. It is a sign that your wine has not been manipulated. And I'm a guy that likes to have all of the flavor from whatever wine go into what we're making. And so this is the first year that we're using the DM cork. And I'll show you why. Because my 13 tastes beautiful, but this, if everybody, I don't know if it's, I have to just hold one up at a time, but this is the 13 cork from M.A. Silva. And M.A. Silva, I think they've supplied corks to Opus One, a number of the highest quality wineries there are. But the cork is great, but they don't always seep very quickly after bottling. And so to me, you should not get that kind of variability in, you know, $125 bottle of wine, certainly. So, and this is the DM cork, where you have this perfect circle, because DM, this is the DM 30. It's guaranteed to have 5 bar of pressure for 30 years. We use the most expensive DM, and it's from an exploded cork. So it is natural cork that's been re-adhered, and it has these little spheres inside it that gradually expand. So there is aeration. It does a couple of things. You know that there's never any TCA, unlike the Icon corks that we used in the 2016 Howell Mountain that were guaranteed to be below the threshold of detectability. Yet we had some variation in some wines where it might be a wine would just taste maybe like it wasn't showing all its fruit. You think, gosh, you know, this bottle's just a little reticent or something. And in reality, I want to have the wine show itself after we spend $25,000 an acre to farm this stuff with Pete Richmond and with Phil Couturi. We want to have every bottle showing its best. And so that is one of the things that we're doing is with the 17, we've moved everything into DM. And I'm very excited. So we've kind of followed Schaefer and David Ramey and a whole lot of Burgundy producers down the rabbit hole. But the beauty is you'll never have to worry if you don't like a bottle of Robert Craig wine in the future, or you just don't like the wine. It is not a closure issue. But that being said, 17, I'm on my own this time because Peter Thompson and his beautiful Andrew Jeffrey Vineyard, obviously he's got other things to do and simply could not make the webinar this time. So we will have him on as a guest at some point, but not this time. And I'm going to take you now to some shots of Howell Mountain where we get started on the 17 to discuss it. And Jami Castro is the talented, not just wine club manager at Robert Craig, but she runs all of our consumer sales and all hospitality. So she's got the big job. And she's going to be fielding any of your questions tonight. The chat is disabled, but any of you can go on at any time and put a question on the Q&A that is there. Just go to Q&A. You can type a question, and Jami will let me know. All right, away we go. So here we go. I just want everybody to get, you know, because even though we're doing Diamond Mountain, I always feel in Diamond Mountain, because of Peter's grapes, they've gone into Cardinal, La Jolla, historically from Andrew Jeffrey Vineyard, which are, you know, $4.95 and $3.95 respectively. And, you know, we obviously, I feel, make a wine as good as anybody's that there is. And because we pay so much for that fruit, it's a little more expensive than our Howell Mountain, but I feel like at Robert Craig, if I have one wine to show somebody what we do, it's our Howell Mountain Estate Cabernet. So here's a shot of our Howell Mountain vineyards, which many of you have seen before from overhead, and all of those beautiful forests behind us. And then here's a shot on the low block of our vineyard from Inspiration Point. It's this gorgeous area right outside block 11 on our estate vineyard there, below the winery, where we look over the Friesen Lakes, and you can see to the right of your picture is Chimarosa. To the left of your picture, there's a little bit of Arkenstone. You can see way off that big vineyard in the distance in the middle left of your screen in the far distance. That's part of Cade now and the Plumpjack group. And then here's what it looks like from the low block as of last week when I went up there to inspect the fire damage. It is, I mean, it's hard to describe what has happened up there. So we got major burned. Another shot on a clear day. It's just incredible to me that all these forests, you can see Chimarosa suffered some damage in their vineyards. Here are my boys from Morro Bay that saved us at Robert Craig. It burned so hot that it burned in the vine rows and wrecked some of our vines in the vine rows, which is unheard of. In 2017, when we lost our Mount Veeder crop for that year to smoke taint, the fire burned right up. It did not do this. So the fire was crazy hot. You can see here a shot of Carlos Mendez coming up to inspect. I mean, we lost a great deal of some very precious vineyard that'll have to be replanted here this year. So just insanely hot. There's my guy from Morro Bay. And hey, I think we have a couple of firefighters on from the Morro Bay Fire Department today and from Los Angeles. And you guys, I want to say, I love you. And thanks so much for coming by the tasting room and buying a little Craig. You got the deep discount. So here we are with Tom Altimus came by from Red Cap, and he and Carlos and I mean, it is heartbreaking to look at this stuff. And then pristine Candlestick Vineyard with all those forests down below us. The winery, if you look all the way to the back of that photo and just over the hill at the high point in the middle left, The winery is just on the other side of that. And here is, it just burned so hot, we lost huge swaths of fruit. I mean, you can see all the way up to the ridge. I mean, these trees are just, there's nothing left of them. It's just sticks. Here's an old batch of Syrah that used to go into Côte de Craig. They just got flamed out. Here's the view from the lookout. That used to be all beautiful forest. And you can see the guys from the Cal Fire were able to hold it on that ridge from going down way deep in the distance. But that's Mount St. Helena in the background. This is looking north. Just this is our whole Petit Verdot block, which is very precious to us. And you can see the lower block of Cabernet down there, just its proximity to the fire. Everything, all these beautiful young vines just got burned out. Here's the insurance adjuster, one of the most important men in the wine business, taking photos from the lower block of our vineyard. And that's Larry Turley's house up and to the left. Somehow survived. The guys from Cal Fire. The diesel generator that Carlos has filled up twice a day for 40 days. Tom Altimus, I don't think he has a bong hookup to that mast just yet, but he's quite a guy from Red Cat Vineyards. So yeah, I think that's supposed to, so here we are today from the lawn. It looks like nothing has happened. Jason is making wine. There are some grapes fermenting, chilling out on dry ice to stay cool. And finally, we arrive at Andrew Jeffrey Vineyard. So gang, here we are. And you can see by the vines how white this soil is. So this vineyard, if you were to look straight across the valley there, all the way to the top of that ridge, to the farthest right section of this photograph, in the upper right, that is where our Candlestick Vineyard is. And then you cannot see our winery estate because it's too far to your right, too far south. But they were in the middle of this. All these woods here are a bad sign. So now, if you look to your right where you can see that kind of part where it flattens out, that's where our winery is located. So many of those vineyards down below suffered severe damage. They lost the wineries, etc. Here's us years ago with Rachel Miller and some of our top guys, Keith Emerson there in the back, hiking out to this beautiful Andrew Jeffrey Vineyard. And here is a shot, a really good shot of the soil. It doesn't look steep, but if you walk around this vineyard, oh my goodness, it is absolutely punishing to walk around. And it has this very fine, pure white volcanic soil. So to me, Diamond Mountain is an anomaly in that Mayacamas range. Viter and Spring have a lot of similarities, and this wine, to me, is more like Howell Mountain than anything else because it's so high-toned. And there's a shot of Stephen holding some berries. So when we get to the 17, everybody thinks about 17 as a fire vintage as well because the Tubbs fire was burning in Sonoma and it cost us our crop on Mount Veeder. But fortunately, Andrew Jeffrey's a little warmer than Mount Veeder. The day our Veeder crop was called to pick, it was mandatory evacuated. There goes $1 million. That was another nightmare year. I thought, well, as long as I live in the business, we'll never go through this again. Of course, until 3 years later with these fires. So with 17, it is really a classic vintage. I think similar to 2015 in that it's not going to be a darling of the press immediately because the wines were very closed, very hard when it started, but oh my goodness, is 17 ever going to show its stuff? And you'll see what's happening with the 15 as well. That wasn't a 96 pointer for us. I think that was a 95 pointer. And to me, 15, in some ways, I prefer to the 16 that got, even bigger scores than the 13. So as we taste them, Jami, do you have your 17 ready at hand?
Oh, I do, Elton. You can always count on me to have wine in my glass.
Mm. Well, I love that we have some of the KC Wine crew on here today. Mm. You guys, it's so great to see the names. I have one of my professor friends who lives in Kentucky, Alan DeSantis is on here somewhere. And Alan, if you're here, I just want to say it's man, oh man, is it ever great to have you on. I can't tell you what we went through to get you this wine. I won't speak about the state of Kentucky wanting to throw me in jail for sending somebody wine, so we couldn't even do it from the winery. That's right. We sent books and olive oil, similar weight. Oh my goodness. This 17 is emerging from its very angry shell. And you know, what's funny, Jami sent me the notes on this wine, and I forgot that we had a block. Our block of the vineyard is this little triangle. I'm gonna quickly flip back to share screen. So we have our block is that block that's down on the lower left of this vineyard block. You can see Rachel, and that's Patrick Stam, and Patrick, if you and Lisa are on, God love you guys. Hope everything's going well in Tampa. But you can see down to the left, we have this little pure white volcanic ash block, and I've never been smart enough to photograph the damn place that we get the fruit from when I go up to Diamond Mountain. But it is the best block of the vineyard, and I'm always amazed that one of the people that were in earlier, whose wines are hundreds of dollars more expensive than ours, did not take that block for their own. So the 17 is a wine that I think 13 is an amazing vintage. I mean, like 16, it's one of the best since 74. And you know, but I just think 17 and 15 are wines that are going to show themselves later in their lives, and it's going to be a party without stopping. Jami, do we have any Q&A that I need to take care of?
We do actually, Elton. So we have a really great question from Todd that were damaged by fire. How long is it going to take for them to repair themselves, and will it affect the flavor of the fruit that comes off of it as they're, you know, continuing to evolve and get better?
That's a great question. So what we do immediately is, even in places where it looks really bad, I mean, I have to say, I've had a lot of experience with fire in my time in Napa, Sonoma in my 30 years. And I have never seen a fire burn into the vineyards and decimate vineyards the way they have. And at Robert Craig, we always run our LWPs. Your words of the day, your phrase of the day is leaf water potential. We always run those really high, where a lot of vineyards will have them in the 10s or 11s, where the vines are fairly comfortable around harvest time to kind of help the grapes stay on the vine. We typically are in the 13s to 16s. Which is a lot eyebrow raising for a lot of people in the Napa Valley. But what we want to extract at that time at Craig, what I want to get done is to have this real intensity and this real display of vineyard. And there's no way to do that other than to run the vine stress pretty high after veraison and before harvest. So veraison is when the grapes are turning color. But with respect to the vines, what we're doing right now, and I mean, this harvest has just been the one that keeps on giving. You know, we've been for 42 days now without power from PG&E, which is unheard of at harvest time. Last year, I thought we'd set the all-time record with like 14 days. And Jason Price, who I see is logged on, our winemaker, and the crew there, it's impossible for me to say enough about what they're managing to do with the generator that keeps the tanks in the barrel room cool. But it is, with the vines, you know, we are able to put some water on them right now. We have to have a separate generator to get the water flowing back to the vineyard. The guys from the Cal Fire took everything that we have in tanks. That's part of your obligation, is to keep the tanks full. And then they suppress the fire using your water. So for us, it basically, you know, decimated our water system as well, because you have the pump running all the time. They take, you know, we never completely empty the tank, because that takes everything that's in the tank, you know, all the silt or whatever else is in there, and just runs it in through the filters and clogs everything up. So that's the problem with putting the water on the vines. But we do have water going onto the vines right now with a separate generator, and hopefully they will regenerate. I think most of them will, but we're going to lose about an acre. So our insurance is not nearly going to cover the kind of losses that we have out there. And then we're able to plant vines where you start getting a crop in about 4 years. And of course, for us, those young vines, that goes into the Robert Craig Mountain Cuvée, Howell Mountain Cuvée from the young vine property. So we don't get the full financial benefit of the vines until much later. But it's, I'm hoping that it looks worse than it is. I mean, I have to say, I went out to Candlestick 2 days ago, and I came back and had tears in my eyes in the car just because it's absolutely shocking. It's impossible to describe this beautiful place and what it looks like now. But the good news is all of it's burned. It needed to burn at some point for Mother Nature to do its work. And here we are, you know, we're having some of this gorgeous wine, which is a great distraction. And of course the pool bar at Hotel Healdsburg. So Jami, anything else? I see we have some more Q&A coming in.
We've got a couple more that are coming in. But one of the other questions that we were going to discuss was, or that wanted to be answered was, what was the first year that we actually produced a Diamond Mountain Cabernet?
Well, that is a great question. Our first Diamond Mountain was 2012. And you know what? I think that year, it was one of those things where, you know, as a winery, when I started in 2014, we'd always made Howell Mountain, a Mount Veeder, and the Howell Mountain that we were making at the time was almost all from Dennis John's White Cottage Ranch, which is a far, you know, inferior property to ours, I feel. And so the first thing I did was make our Howell Mountain estate. The Veeder, of course, came from Robin Williams' property. We made Affinity from our own property and purchased fruit at the time. And I thought, you know what, we should do a Spring Mountain. I mean, Bob Craig is the original Mountain Cabernet guy. Let's do a Spring Mountain and let's do a Diamond Mountain. And we went over, oh my gosh, we looked at some fruit on Diamond Mountain. And if anybody ever knew Fred Constant, he's a character, but his contract, I mean, he was like the best used car salesman for fruit of all time. He would say, yes, you pay the $12,000 a ton, which was very expensive at that time. And now, you know, with Andrew Jeffrey, it's over $15,000 a ton, which means all of you should be paying $150 a bottle for the wine. But at Craig, you know, we do what's right for our wine drinkers. But we decided, I saw all kinds of places where they wanted whatever. And at Constant, it was, the contract read, I can take your block of fruit from my own wine whenever I want. And that had happened to several of his clients. So we decided not to go there. We looked around, we looked at the Von Strasser property at the time, and that was purchased by La Jolla. And it looks much better under their expert guidance as farmers than it did before. But Rudy made some killer wines off of that skanky old vineyard. But we finally got to try this stuff out in 2012. Somebody didn't take a couple tons from this Andrew Jeffrey, which is right on the summit of Spring Mountain, or Diamond Mountain rather. And the reason they call it Diamond is if you look when the sun is setting from our place over there, you can see it sparkles. That white soil has a little crystalline component to it, and it sparkles like a diamond, hence the name Diamond Mountain. So 2012 was our first year on that vineyard, and I feel like we made some really nice wine, but 2012 is my least favorite of all of our Diamond Mountain offerings. Even though people drink it and say, oh my God, how can I get more of this 12? I think we kind of figured out how to work with that wine more starting in 2013. Stephen and I think Jason was coming on the year after that, so Jason wasn't there yet, but Stephen and Kyle kind of figured out, you know, what they were going to do with that wine at the time. So Jami, that was a long answer.
That's okay. We've got lots of great questions, Elton. There's a lot of interest in what's going on. Can I ask one more now?
Ask away.
Okay. So Dean Fiola wants to know, with the fires becoming the new normal, and he says, fingers crossed that that changes, what, if any, precautions can we take going forward?
Well, I have taken to wearing Depends every day. So if the fire comes now, there is no suddenly trying to find a restroom. Seriously, it is. I should have put the one photo I failed to put in my photo log is where the fires have burned. And if you look at the last 5 years, I was showing this to our staff, the fires have literally burned all the way around us. So of course, the California wine business represents $22 billion and over $60 billion in terms, and Napa Valley wine represents almost half of that 22 billion. That is how much Napa provides for the economy of California. So it's a sizable chunk, even in a very large economy. And so they're getting things done like figuring out how they monitor hotspots, how to send drones in immediately, how to mitigate, how to mitigate the fuels is very difficult. If somebody came up for me from, Fish and Game and said, hey, you guys need to, burn all this out. I mean, I'm like, where am I going to get the money to do that? But I think what we're doing is a lot of defensible space, which we have around our winery because it's vineyard. But this year, the major surprise was this fire burned right through the vineyards. But Frank Dotzler and the guys at Outpost and the guys down the hill at like Lambourne, they owe me a big glass of wine because our place was the one on the front lines getting burned, and the fire department set up camp for 4 days in our joint. But I think in the future, the best thing we can do is be better stewards to the environment, which is a long range. But in the short range, believe me, CAL FIRE is working on the resources to protect against this stuff happening. But most of it, Howell Mountain hadn't burned in 130 years. Spring Mountain hadn't burned in 200 years. And so a lot of this was due to happen and needed to happen. But I think about all the people. I think about Jeff and the guys down at Hourglass and Boswell. And I mean, some of the wineries that were burned were, and the Barons at right next to our Spring Mountain property at what was Barons and Hitchcock and now is Barons family. I think, those are people that are doing it like we're doing it, just trying to sell wine and make money. So in any event, I think about all of them, and it makes me it makes me cry a little less for myself. Jami, anything else before we move to that 15?
Well, we do still have a couple of good questions, but maybe I'll ask one more and then we can move on to 15, and we can keep addressing these as they're coming in. But another question, and also from Todd McCullough, and I'm going to get to all of the questions that have come through, but Todd wanted to know, for the grapes that did survive, will the smoke affect the taste?
Yes. So Todd, it's great to see you on. First of all, I love you guys. I hope all is well there. You guys, I told you to come on out, and then I was like, hold on a minute, and I'm so glad that you didn't come out for a hellfire smoke season here in the Napa Valley. It's gorgeous now. It's all burned, so we'll work it out for you guys to come out and see us. But it all depends on where you were in the Napa Valley. There are all these people saying 2020 is not a viable vintage. I mean, for us, we were able to harvest 40% total of our 2020 crop. Some of the stuff on Howell Mountain, because I was running the leaf water potential so high and the stress level so high, that it made us have to pick a lot of fruit on Candlestick because it got to 114 degrees up there in early September. And so I'm like, oh my God, we got to pick this stuff 2 weeks sooner than I wanted to. And as it turned out, it was a blessing. I mean, so the wines are going to be more Bordeaux than Napa Valley Floor, certainly from 2020. But what's in tank that I tasted through 2 days ago with Jason or was it yesterday? My God, it's all a fog. But it was really, really good. And I am so psyched to have some 2020. We're going to have a tiny amount of Howell Mountain, but yes, it is. I mean, we have some lots that we just can't use. We've already had to sell for to larger wineries. Some wine's going to go out the door where our cost is, you know, $85 a gallon for 1,000 gallons, and we're going to sell it for $10 a gallon. But you can literally get the taste of a little, you know, the wines are so nice and so fruity. And for us, we're up high where it's windy, so we don't get like on valley floor where the smoke comes down and sits on can just absolutely sit in the vineyards. But so you don't get like the ultra ashtray, but you do get like this little bit of bitter, smoky taste on the end. So for me at Robert Craig, you know, even though insurance is $600,000 after we already spent $800,000 to farm it. And then it's in terms of what we get for revenues, around $6 million. So it's just an awful financial equation for us at Robert Craig. So when we get to 2023, when we should be selling these wines into the marketplace, you're going to see a whole lot of top ramen in our kitchens at Robert Craig. But yes, you can taste it. And if anybody still have fruit hanging out in Napa Valley that harvested after the glass fire and not before, it's going to be smoky. So are we ready for 15, Jami?
We're ready.
All right. I hope everybody can hear me. I'm on the Hotel Healdsburg Wi-Fi, and it keeps saying Wi-Fi unstable, so I'm getting this major paranoia. And you can see me. I set my backdrop as virtual because obviously the back of my hotel room here, even though it's a nice one, wouldn't be that exciting. But you can see what it's like to sit up on the top of Howell Mountain on a nice afternoon. And if you haven't been up to our place, it is highly recommended. Christian, the estate manager, will take care of you. So let's go down one to 15. That's 17. Oh my God, what a wine. I think the big difference in the 17 and tasting that is there is 20% Cabernet Franc, because we've got a row of Cabernet Franc that was right in the middle of our stuff. And the other wines are much more. I think in the 15, there's a little Petit Verdot. Is that right, Jami? The 15 is a little Petit Verdot in there and maybe a touch of Cab Franc?
Yes, so the 15 actually is 77 Cab, 10% Cabernet Franc, and then 8% Petit Verdot. So
a lot of Petit Verdot.
Yeah, I feel like you can taste it actually too.
You're one of those.
I like to think I am anyway.
I'm telling you, it's an absolutely beautiful Friday with no smoke in the air, and I'm just so happy to be with my Craigers. This is the most welcome distraction ever. And, you know, to my neighbors up there with Tom Altimus and the Dunns and the people, you know, just that have been around and willing to have a glass of wine, to Frank Dossler from Outpost. And it has been a huge help. And thank you to all of you guys that have sent me messages. Gosh, I mean, the beavers, oh my goodness, you know, Don and Leslie sent Shelly and I some this huge jug of soup called comfort soup or something, this awesome tomato basil soup with some rolls and some cheese bits and all of this. I mean, oh my goodness, I was ready to hit a dark depression, and you guys have pulled me out. So here we are with the 15. It's so weird seeing the wine glass disappear from my hand because I have the green screen going here.
Kind of funny on our end too.
I know. It makes my hair look not so poofy as well. But you know, I'm coming back to my love of 15 Napa Cabernet. This is the great unsung vintage. It's very similar to 17, and it is going to get, you know, 15 was kind of cracked on by the press. We were all like, I think we have one 95-point wine, might have been the Howell Mountain in 15. The rest were like 94 and 93. And then 16, you know, it's 96, 96, and 94, 94 on the wines for 16. But 15 and 17 are these really great vintages that I think are going to offer you guys that are looking for Napa Cabernet some opportunities to buy at less than maximum price. You know, I know K&L always does their insider advantage where they don't list the price. You have to be a member, and you go in, and it is some very, very highly regarded producers, including us from time to time. And they'll simply mark it down and let it happen. So this is one of those wines where I think 15 was the perfect blend of, you know, Cab Franc, Petit Verdot. I'm amazed that with all that Cabernet Franc in the 17, how lush it still is. Sometimes in the mountains, Cabernet Franc, you know, when you're producing mountain fruit, I'm always looking for blenders. Malbec and Petit Verdot tend to make good blenders because they're a little bit lower in tannin and they have this tremendous color. And, you know, with Cabernet Sauvignon in the mountains, it's always a matter of getting these really high tannin values, and you have to have enough fruit to blend with that in order to make a wine that is going to be harmonious, ageable, balanced. And so Cabernet Franc in the mountains to me has never been a really great blending agent because of the fact that it is very high tannin and tends to be lower color than Cabernet. But we have a couple of sites, you know, Peter's Place is one of those at Andrew Jeffrey Vineyard that produces this really gorgeous, dense wine that has this beautiful perfume aromatic that was in the 17. And some of this is in the 15. And then we go to the 13, it's going to be 100% Cabernet. But of all things, our Mount Veeder property as well, Amentet, has this spectacular Cabernet Franc on it. The Cabernet Franc that we had on our winery estate vineyard, we tore out because it just made this really hard, mean green wine. And I'm so happy that this doesn't have any hint of that. Oh, man.
Elton, we have a couple other really great questions. Can I pepper you?
Bring it. I don't have a guest to mess me up this time.
So Joy wanted to know, the vines that we lost to fire, at any point had those been scheduled to be replaced because of age?
No, I mean our vines in general right now, most of the stuff on our two Howell Mountain properties were planted in 96 to 97, and so now they're getting to that, you know, really good age, and generally I think we're going to start removing vines when they get into their late 40s. So, and the whole Petit Verdot block on Howell Mountain was just planted in 2015. So that was a heartbreaker on, you know, really great rootstock, and the results that we've been receiving from that block in the winery in terms of numerically the color compounds, the intensity, really great. So that would be a perfect thing, is to get a little insurance money when you plan to replant the fruit, the vines anyway. But unfortunately, Joy, that was not the case with us. So those vines still have many years of life left. And, you know, I was hoping to have a retirement party sitting in the middle of those vines with a big table, you know, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Cancel my retirement at 65. I'm now at 85.
Okay, Elton, another great question that was asked, this came in anonymously, but they want to know what charity or organization is special to you and Robert Craig in regards to helping with the fires. Obviously, they know that the best thing that anybody can do to help is to buy Napa wine. But if they wanted to donate to a charity, is there a particular charity that you would choose?
Yes. Now, the Napa Valley Vintners, which is NVV, they have a great link. There is a charity to the fires. If you look on Wine Spectator, they have a really good page on that as well. but I should put a link up on our website for donation, because all of the money is going to the people. I mean, the wineries are the least of the problem. I mean, so many people that are service workers, et cetera, in the Napa Valley that have already been hit by COVID have lost their homes, have no place to live. Right now, as a matter of fact, you know, Jami and Scott have Kristen, our intern, is living in their house as we speak. Jami, because oh my goodness, you know, all the fire damage that we've had. So ordinarily we have a nice house up there for people, and that's not the case. And like Kristen, so many of the people that are working in wine are completely displaced. It's a terrible thing. And also, I have to say that we have such, in these mountain vineyards, they're very wild places, and these ecosystems are just incredible. And on prior webinars, I've shown you photographs on our game camera of mountain lions and bobcats and deer and fox and bears. And all of these creatures have completely lost their habitat. And so the Jameson Animal Ranch, the Jameson Animal Shelter here in Napa, I think it's Jameson Farm.
Jameson Rescue Ranch.
Jameson Rescue Ranch.
Jameson Rescue Ranch. Mm-hmm.
Amazing people. And so they're also, if you don't have a lot of faith in human beings anymore, there are some wonderful opportunities to give to the people that are really doing heroic work with the animals that have been injured and scarred and displaced from the fire. So that's a wonderful question. Thank you very much. It does my heart well. But I think first and foremost, you should protect your people at Robert Craig from the ramen noodle life that we're going to live here. I'm going to wash dishes to pay for my room at the Hotel Healdsburg.
Good job, Elton.
Anything else, Jami?
We do have some other great questions. So Jonathan Kuhn wants to know, would early December of 2020 be a good time to visit Napa area, or should they wait until next year?
Oh, I think this, you know what? The people that are out in Napa right now are enjoying Napa, you know, albeit we have dining inside in Napa, which is now just ratcheted up to from 25 to 50%, I believe, because our COVID numbers, people continue to be safe and mask it up. But December is one of my favorite times for Napa Valley. Nobody's doing a damn thing in early December. Usually it's before the rains are the heaviest in late December, January, and February. So my recommendation is get a room where they have a fireplace and some robes. So if it does turn into a downpour, you know, you can ride it out with a book and lots of wine. But gosh, I mean, I went to Don Giovanni 2 days ago. My guys, or 3 days ago, my guys took me out to, they all have wineries down on the valley floor that didn't sustain any damage. So they took me out to lunch at Don Giovanni, and I sat outside, and it was like Napa Valley. Oh my God, those pasta ribbons with the pesto on them, the fusilli, and the just crazy great food, perfect atmosphere, great service, tremendous wine. You forget that there's a pandemic and fires just in the past. My recommendation is come on out in December, and we will totally set you up at the winery.
Definitely. All right, one more, Elton.
Okay, one more.
We've got lots more, actually. This is very exciting. People are very engaged. It's a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody. But Leroy Jones wants to know, can you discuss the ageability of these wines? Is there an ideal time to drink them? And can you describe how they evolve over time?
Yes, and to me, these wines are different. I mean, the Howell Mountain and Diamond Mountain are so big that's why I started from young to old. And they're really, that 17 is just a baby, but you can tell with that power. To me, it's crazy with Craig wines, but even our Chardonnay and Zinfandel, you know, if you can wait to that magic 6 years, and that's why, you know, that's why we do a 7-year and a 10-year release, because it's 7 years after vintage date, which means that 2013, that's why we're doing the 7-year release, because it's really starting to show the vineyard and not just all those, you know, primary fruit qualities. It's really starting to show the essence of the vineyard and all of those things to me in Diamond Mountain that, you know, really make the wine great. So all of our wines, including the Diamond Mountain, I personally think Howell Mountain is our most ageable wine, but all of these wines are so, man, I mean, even Affinity is one of those wines that's going to take a tremendous amount of time in the cellar. So I think if I had my druthers to drink these wines, in particular a big vintage like 13 or 17, I would wait till 12 years after vintage date in a perfect world. 6 to 7 years to start, 12 years after vintage date you know, is when you're in that window of truth. And then these wines are going to be, you know, 40, 50-year wines. I just had a 69 Chapelet Signature Cabernet with one of the friends that took me to Don Giovanni, and the wine was so amazing. And these are going to be those kind of wines. I mean, we do not manipulate these wines, hence the tartarics on the cork. So it's a great question, but phenomenal wine should taste great on release. And I drink this 17 Cabernet right now, and gosh, I just think pour that thing into a water pitcher, just tilt it straight up and down. Don't worry about a decanter with too much dust in it that you never use, and let it sit for an hour and let it happen, because it is beautiful wine right now. To me, the great wines of the world should taste really, really good when they're young and only improve with some age. So you can drink it now, but my recommendation is 6 to 7 years after vintage date, which is not that long on the 2017. I mean, we're talking 2023, it'll be showing its stuff. So 3 years from now. But with me, you know, I never know if Shelly's been waiting too long by the pool or whatever it is. She may come back and kill me. So I think your wines better show well young. But we'll go to the 2013 and see about that. But that's a good rule of thumb for all of our wines. I think even the Chardonnay is, you know, the 2015 Chardonnay now at 5 years old is really starting to show itself. And when it's 10 years old, that wine is going to be doing its thing.
I completely agree, Elton. I had a 2010 Gaps Crown, or Durell, sorry, and it was delicious. It was so yummy. I think our Chardonnay is one of those kind of undiscovered gems where people don't think about laying it down, but it really does well with age.
I agree. And the Durell's the one that we got rid of because it wasn't aging long enough. You know, in 10, it's still a baby.
Right.
It's good. Now, if a lot of people have had the Durell from Rachel's office, you know, where she would keep those older vintage in her 90-degree office, and you'd be like, oh, this is a little oxidized. I'm like, well, the perfect storage temperature for Chardonnay is not 84.6 degrees Fahrenheit. But I digress. Man, this 15, you know, I brought this up in a car in styrofoam, and it still got a little warm waiting out for the valet. And now I'm drinking it out of this horrific hotel rolled lip glass, rolled lip glassware. You know it if you have it. It basically just kills all the aromatic of the wine. And no matter what, this wine, if I were drinking it in a plastic cup that somebody just dumped some chewing tobacco juice out of, it would still taste good. It's really amazing. All right.
Well, I have a couple more questions. You want to pour some 13 first, or you want me to throw you another question?
Let's pour some 13, and then let's get into it. So, okay. Wow, that 15 is, all of you are going to thank me when you go buy 15 Napa Valley Cabernet that people can't quite get rid of because they didn't get the big score they got on the 13 and 16. You're going to say, Elton, thank you. Thank you. I have my 15.
Elton, did you decant your wines before pouring them today?
I did not. I did not want to mess with bringing a decanter up here, but for me, for wines that are for wines of the size of Robert Craig wines, which are big wines, big structured wines, I think the wines from 0 to 15 years old should be decanted. So I'm decanting them in my glass today because I'm on I'm outside of the reservation, so to speak. But I really think if you can, that decanting these wines, temperature and air, if you serve these wines too warm, if they're in a room for more than an hour sitting out and they start to get up to that 70 degrees or so, 75 degrees, they really lose their ability to show that nuance. So temperature to me is first, and then decanting, that's 1B maybe in terms of priorities. But these wines really benefit from a decanter. And I hope you're all having the kind of fall weather where you can put the decanter outside for a few minutes and it just gets a little cool. Then you bring it back in and take it back outside. My patio door in Sausalito swings open and closed all the time.
You can do that everywhere but Healdsburg today, right?
Yes, but oh my goodness, let me tell you, a little Sauvignon Blanc by the pool becomes unpleasant if you don't get on it right away.
Andy Nichols had a question. He wanted to know, the fruit is much more apparent in the 15 versus the 17. Do you expect the 17 to open up and exhibit more fruit in the next couple of years?
Andy, that's why I love you, the running man. Andy, if you recall, if you think back in time, that is exactly how the 15 showed. It was so angry, the tannin counts were so high, but in the 15 and 17 wines, they're very similar in terms of this really huge complex anthocyanin count. That means a lot of bottom molecule, a lot of color in the wine, but also really gargantuan tannin counts in all the wines that we harvested in 15 and 17. And that's why the tannins have started to recede a little bit in the 15 at last. And to me, if you can wait a couple of years on the 17 and let it hit that 5-6 year mark, the fruit is going to explode, because technically it's a bigger wine than the 15. I think it's going to end up being a superior wine to the 15, but we'll see in the future. But if you recall, the 15 was like a closed fist when it first came out as well. 13 was more generous, but man, it is the perfect balance of structure and this color compound. I mean, 13 like 16, it might go 2016 number 1, 1974 number 2, and then 2013 number 3 in terms of vintages that have occurred in my lifetime since November 13, 1966 in the Napa Valley. It's really quite the year, and 66 was a hell of a year.
Perfect. Well, should we chat about this 13? We've got a couple more questions, but you should talk about this.
We should speak about this 13. Now, Jami, one of the things that Robert Craig is, in order to get the true inside story, you have to hear it straight from me, because there is actually a little Petit Verdot, even though we list it as 100% Cabernet, we got about a ton of Petit Verdot in 13. Now that I recall, I went down into my deep notes, but we never listed it on the wine notes. So there is a little PV in the 13 from this same vineyard, but it is more Cabernet than the other two. And I think this is when Pete Richmond, our farmer, began farming Andrew Jeffrey Vineyard as well. And so Pete, I think many of you may have met him when he was on now farming our Howell Mountain properties. But Pete is not only the most freaking expensive guy in the Napa Valley to have farm your property, but he's the most knowledgeable, the most professional. He has a team of people working for him that are just incredible. And this vineyard, I think, in 13 went through a major transformation with Pete coming in to take care of it. So the 13 to me is a perfect vintage. The fruit is exploding now, whereas I think Diamond Mountain is always reticent. To me, Diamond is the most closed of all of the mountain vineyards, unless you're growing right on the base. But you know, one of our great customers in Ohio, Jim Bostic, when I traveled there for a party at his house, he put several Diamond Mountain producers, one being the Vineyardist that is over $300 a bottle, and did a big brown bag. And who was the winner? Robert Craig, Andrew Jeffrey. So I will say that these are some of the great red wines that are available in Napa Valley. You know, I'm going to have to decide as we go forward in time with Peter, the price of the fruit for us to lay out that kind of cash where we're really focusing on, you know, our Howell Mountain estate. We'll see. But this moment in time with Diamond Mountain, oh my goodness, you know, obviously we don't have a 2020 crop. Everything on that side of the valley, spring, or we don't have a Veeder crop this year, spring Diamond and Veeder are all done for in 2020 for us. They all got smoke taint, but you know, thank goodness we have a little Howell. But these wines are, I cannot say enough about the fact that we're here drinking these, I think for under $300 for the set. But that's what this is about. It's about having a conversation together and a little Friday evening fun. Oh my goodness. So Jami, what's on your tap for this weekend? I think you're muted.
You're right. I was typing. I didn't want everybody to hear the clickety clack. I think just some relaxation. Enjoy the warm weather. I'm kind of guessing that maybe we're coming to the end of it, you know? So.
Yeah, I mean, the weather looks officially great next week. And for all of you guys, I mean, you know, Todd has been so great. I think he's scheduled 4 trips to Napa, and every one has been canceled by the next preceding disaster that has occurred. But come on out. The fires, there's nothing left to burn. Literally, it's all burned. And the valley is so heartbreakingly beautiful. It is, I have to say, shocking up on top of Howell Mountain. These forests behind me are from my back screen again is where you would sit overlooking the entirety of Napa Valley under our umbrella. And it's none of that greenery is any longer there. But it's really gorgeous out here. And to all of our club members that have come along for the ride, and all of the people that we've just met through doing the webinars, I apologize for not having an interesting special guest on at this time, but I thought,
Hey!
you know, Jami is here co-hosting today, of course. But thank you. Are there any more questions we have, Jami?
There are actually. There's a couple. I have to say, I'm so impressed with the quality of questions today. Very exciting. So Bonnie Bailey said that Abel wants to know what effect the fires have with the soil in the areas that were burned, and how will this affect the terroir, if at all?
Abel, I am so glad that my Los Angeles gang is down there partying up. I bet Bonnie is cooking up some kind of unbelievable meal down there for you guys. I'm going to block you on Instagram because I don't want to see that food. But that's a great question. And the bottom line is, fire is always good for the soil. So it will not have any impact whatsoever on the terroir. They've done huge studies on this with all the Australian wildfires, et cetera. So the soil will not change. You know, what we have up on Howell Mountain and Spring Mountain is essentially just, our section of Spring Mountain is a pure white volcanic tufa, which we have on Candlestick, and then our Howell Mountain property is more of a basalt series soil, these really intense red rocks. So it's all these rocks. I mean, it's not like we're going to get, the only thing that ash will add, if it's not from the drip hose where you don't want a lot of chemicals coming down. But for us, we have like zero damage to the soil. It will just be about getting a healthy ecosystem back around the vineyard, which means, you know, I'm sure that wherever the gophers are, they eat all the tender vine, they eat all the tender vine roots. Those little bastards are still going to be with us. I have no doubt that the gophers survived the fire. It's like Caddyshack up at Robert Craig, because they're the worst damaging creatures that there are. But for us, no impact whatsoever on the soil. It will add actually a little nutrient to the soil and let the vines relax a little bit. At least that's according to Pete Richmond, and we pay him plenty.
Brad Gray wants to know, what's the best temperature for Craig Reds?
Brad, thank you for the gift. Oh my goodness, you're the man. And so the best temperature for Robert Craig Reds, I think cellar temperature of 59 degrees is too cold. So I like 62 to 66 degrees, you know, for me is the appropriate temperature. Cool, but not cold, because when the wines get too cold, the tannins overwhelm the fruit. You can't taste much. But to me, you know, it drives me crazy when people serve the wine over 70 degrees Fahrenheit. All of our wines, we label at 14.8%, but they're almost all lower than that. The Chardonnays are in the 13s frequently, because I don't want to have to change the label every year for the BATF. But Craig wines, we get a lot out of them at lower alcohol levels. That's through farming, through low yield, and how Jason handles the wine in the winery. We don't run the bricks levels into the realm of craziness. So you're never going to drink the Prisoner when you're drinking Robert Craig Cabernet. But that's a great question, Brad. And I hope you guys have a terrific weekend. It's awesome to have you on.
One other thing, Elton. So Dr. Bob is asking, how's the 2018 vintage going to shape up compared to the 2017? What are you seeing so far with those?
Well, 2015 and 2017 are really, really good vintages. And to me, they're better than 2012. And 2012 was hailed as this amazing vintage because 11, 10, 9, 8 were all difficult years in their own way. But 2018 and in particular 2018 reminds me of a 2007 where the yields were very high, great color, the wines are super inviting. So 2018 is an excellent year. Howell Mountain, of course, we had some smoke, so we lost, from the Carr fire and then from the Paradise fire at Verasion and Harvest, we lost about a third of our crop. So 2018 was a painful year on one section of the vineyard that sat in the smoke. The rest of it, absolutely fine. But the rest of the wines were just killer. I mean, Veeder 2018 is one of the best wines we've ever made. So 2018 is, in the Napa Valley in general, is going to be a great year. It all depends on where you were, like Howell Mountain and North on the Vaca range. There were some trouble with smoke, but 2019 is another one of those years that could be like 2016 where it's perfection. It's really a tremendous year. And then 2020, God help us all. But I think, Jami, we're over our time at this point. And I just want to say to everybody, as I'm drinking this 13, which I'm going to take some more of, from here in Healdsburg, California, where thank goodness they haven't shut off the power. PG&E, it's another red flag warning that's extending, through this evening. But they haven't shut off the power, so chances are it's going to be good. I have to put the glass right in front of my face or it won't show. But cheers to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. These three wines are blowing my mind. I've just had such a great time with this. And Jami, you have been a joy to have on at the company. I'm sure you've all spoken with Jami. She's been sending out a whole lot of wine to you guys, which has been amazing. And the amount of interaction on social media. Thank you for your emails, your texts. I love it. To all of my friends, to the crew down in LA, Philip Koo, who does who handles our Instagram and Facebook, is on here today. From all of us at Robert Craig, it's meant a huge amount. And to do this on a Friday afternoon and not speak to my parents or friends or somebody that, hey, we're still here, but I'm tuning my guitar to play Down by the Sausalito Fountain. Tear-jerking version of You Can't Always Get What You Want. Wash your coins before you throw them in the case, please. I love you guys. So thank you so much. And come to Napa Valley and see us. I'd love to hear from you. So please text me, email, send Jami a note. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the wines.
Cheers.
Cheers, Jami.
Cheers, Elton.
Hey to Scott
Cheers
for
to
me.
all our people. We love you.
There will be an email coming out. You guys are the only ones getting the deal. We have very little of these precious wines left. So take advantage or forever hold your peace. Thanks again, everyone. Love to all. Have a great weekend.
Cheers, Elton.
Bye, Jami.